And now, our feature presentation.
I like it spooky.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast. I'm Brian.
I am Clint, and this episode comes out a day after Haunting in the Hills opens, which means I just might be dead at that point. It might be the last time you will hear my voice.
So you're going to be like Jane Doe.
I'm going to be exactly like Jane Doe, and you're going to have to open up all of the secrets that are inside me.
Speaking of secrets, we should probably get to the news. I guess that wouldn't be a secret though, would it?
Well, especially after we talk about it, then no, news isn't secrets.
So in my news, Creep Tapes is headed to Shudder as a series this November. So it seems like we're getting a lot of horror stuff coming to series lately. You know, we talked about a couple episodes ago, Scare Tactics is coming back. And if you don't know what Creep Tapes is...
I don't.
You don't?
I do not.
So there's a film called Creep. You remember this movie? Have you seen this movie?
I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
So there's Creep 1 and Creep 2. In 2014, Mark Duplass and director Patrick Brice made a found footage film called Creep, of which they mostly improvised the entire script. The success of the first film led to a sequel, and ultimately a third was announced. I've not seen a third, but now they're going to do a 6-episode Shudder series in which Duplass returns as the unhinged Joseph. Brice will direct all episodes. It will premiere on streaming starting November 15th. Creep's one of those that's kind of an indie, off the beaten path. A lot of people outside of mainstream horror probably aren't going to know it. They've maybe seen the poster. They've maybe seen the werewolf head. But it was a good film. Not for everybody. It was creepy.
Well, and it's kind of I don't know, it's a great choice of title because when you said Creep Tapes, my mind immediately went to Creep Show. And you know, we've been getting Creep Show everything in the past couple of years. I'm like, oh, is this an arm of that entity? Are we going to be getting something else from the Creep?
The funny thing is, this week I've been seeing like little snippets of a person sitting in the bushes or the person sitting in their car watching somebody. And everybody that I saw was like, oh, Creep 3's coming out. Something with the Creep series. So people that know this series like ultimately jumped right to that. They're like, oh, so excited. So you know it's good, and you know people that are deep into horror are wanting to see this because anything that resembles it, they jump straight to it. So I'm excited to see this, and I mean 6 episodes is maybe just a palate cleanser or that little appetizer before the film comes out.
So you mentioned a werewolf head, so it deals with werewolves?
No, but so the premise of the first movie is this guy hires someone to come and tape their final days because they have cancer, but it takes that weird turn in the middle where he like starts wearing this werewolf mask and head, and it just gets weirder and weirder and weirder from there and creepier until, you know, it ends.
The reason I asked was werewolf kind of ties in to my news story, and it is from bloodydisgusting.com. And The Forest Hills, there's a trailer available now for the film coming out, The Forest Hills, and it is Shelley Duvall's final movie, and it releases this Halloween. Shelley Duvall, recently passed away a couple months ago, I believe. It was recent. The director Scott Goldberg's The Forest Hills will bring together Edward Furlong, which anytime after Terminator 2 that Edward Furlong was in a movie, it's usually really bad. That's my opinion, but hey. It also has Dee Wallace and, of course, Shelley Duvall. Let's see. Additionally, we've learned this morning that Forest Hills will be releasing in select theaters beginning October 4th. I'll post this article on the I Like a Spooky Horror Podcast Facebook page because there's where you can click to check listings. And there's also the Blu-ray will be up for pre-order. It's up for pre-order right now. But the reason I bring up the werewolf is, I said, Edward Furlong plays the role of Billy, a man who influences Rico to believe that he can become a werewolf. And we hear that Furlong transforms into a werewolf in the movie. But the news story here is that this is the late, great Shelley Duvall's last film.
Yeah, and hopefully it's good, and pays some kind of homage to her career and her importance in horror and film in general. It's nice just to have maybe one more memory of her.
This is her first film appearance in 2 decades. So that makes it actually even extra special, Oh, and of course, hey, here's some news for you. Felissa Rose is in it.
Oh, well, she's in everything anymore, but yeah.
Right.
Which good for her. I mean, and I love Felissa Rose. We met her at Motor City Nightmares. It was Finley's first convention and her first celebrity, and I knew that it would be hard to top. I mean, she was almost in tears. She just thought Finley was the cutest little thing, and the thing that we had autographed was the most awesome thing you could ever bring along, and it was, important to my family. It's nice that she's still just plugging away. I mean, hell, some people don't do that many movies in their career, let alone in a weekend.
Right. You have to wonder, and I'm not trying to turn it into a tragic story, but why did Shelley Duvall come out of a 2-decade hiatus to do this film? And if you had seen any pictures recently of her, in fact, she's characterized on the poster art pretty much as herself, and she didn't age well. And not all of us do. I probably won't either, the way I go. What made her come out of a 2-decade hiatus to do this film? Because it's not like exactly it's a far cry from The Shining as far as the big blockbuster budget stuff. And I gotta wonder if it's like the first thing that came to my mind was like the Bela Lugosi story where Ed Wood finds him kind of the aging star down in his luck and tries to give him some resurgence, which makes me think about money and being later in your career and being tragically poor. Luckily, I'm early in my career, if you can even call this a career, and you won't believe this. This goes back to the newsflash too. Newsflash, I am tragically poor.
So on this episode of Pork, Finley and I a couple weeks ago went and checked out Horror Fiesta, first time horror convention in Peoria, Illinois, which is about an hour from where I live. Grabbed a couple little trinkets, and I'll share these on the podcast page, but she wanted this. It's a little Jack Frost snowman.
I love the blood around his mouth, and his eyes are fucking creepy.
She said, that looks like Jack Frost from the Killer Snowman movie, which happens to be one of her favorite movies. So we grabbed that from a vendor. We grabbed a little ghost from a vendor that glows in the dark.
That's cute.
And we ran into a friend of the show, David Gritzmacher. I don't know if you remember, I sent you that book, The Relic.
Yeah.
Did Boots ever have time to read that?
She has not, but no, I remember the book. Yep.
He's like, I got another book coming out, my 5th book. He's actually going to be in Galesburg, Illinois, where I live. So I'm going to, go down to Wordsmith Bookshop and visit with him. And we took a picture, and he's going to share that on his socials eventually. But he also has some stuff coming out at Christmas time. And he explained it to me, but it was a weird mashup of Evil Dead with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Sold.
And yeah, I was like, okay, that sounds fun. It was nice seeing him. I ran into a couple other people that I knew, talked to some people, bought a couple little things. Hopefully they continue to have the show and kind of grow it slowly and get it to where it's something, that more people come and check out. The other thing we grabbed in Peoria was I went over to Disc Replay, which is a local chain. There's 4 or 5 in the area, and they had Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
I love that movie.
Here's a superhero with the biggest pair of all.
You looking for me?
There she was, just walking down the street singing.
This Elvira is a slimy, slithering succubus, a concubine, a streetwalker, a tramp.
From Arrow. It's got the slipcover. It's got the booklet. It was $10. And I was like, why is it $10? Well, you can see down there. That means it's not American. It's a Region B, which is fine.
Oh, because you have a Region B player.
I have a region-free Blu-ray player. You put this in a DVD or Blu-ray in the United States, it won't play. This sells for like $30.
We need to start putting the show out on a video format because I wish everybody could have just seen Brian's head cock back and forth. Like, I happen to have a region-free player.
And then one of the other places we've been going a lot is Five Below. just because it's cheap. I bought Finley a Godzilla -1 poster there for $5. I found this little Reagan, kind of like a little pop figure.
That's like one of the vinyl pops, right?
And it says it's a Five Below exclusive. It was $5. And Finley wanted it. And they have the Nun and Annabelle and Pennywise. And then I found this book too for $5. Turner Classic Movie Fright Favorite. Horror Classics to Haunt Your Movie Night. And I mean, it's probably...
I see pretty pictures as you're flipping through.
170 some pages, just full of artwork. I mean, The Exorcist, The Birds, Black Sunday, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Mystery of the Wax Museum.
It has write-ups about the movie as well next to the pictures.
Here's Get Out, Blumhouse 2017, director, producers, who it stars, how long it is, and just, a little write-up about it. $5. And they had a stack of them. And I shared this in a group with friends, and they're like, where'd you get that at? I said, Five Below. I got to go get that. I don't even know what the original price was on it.
That sort of ties in with a while ago, we got into this habit almost where we were talking. Well, we still do, but for a while we were pretty hitting it home pretty hard, but about physical media. That's in essence kind of like the physical media thing, that book you have, because all the information in there, you can just go to the Internet Movie Database, and there's probably other sites that have all that information as well, but it's really neat to have that on a book. You can just flip through and look at it.
And I'll put it on the bookshelf, and I'll probably pull it off every so often, or if somebody comes over and they're like, oh, what do you got to look at? And that's cool stuff that would go out like at Haunting in the Hills. You know, why people are maybe waiting? That's $5.
Right.
For people to flip through.
If it's in your study, it can make you feel like a horror intellectual. Like, well, let me tell you that this book has everything from Black Sunday to Get Out, and it has the information on the inside track of the, as you smoke a pipe.
It does not have the Greasy Strangler in there, so it's not a complete listing.
I don't think anything's going to have the Greasy Strangler in there. I don't even know if they ever came out with another Psychotronic video guide, the Greasy Strangler might not even wind up in there. They're going to be like, nah, we'll cover like vampire hooker, grandma rabbit killer baby eaters, but we're not going to do the Greasy Strangler.
Well, damn it. So would you buy anything?
The only thing that I have been spending an abundance on lately is time. I spend time. I'm out of time. I don't have enough time. I have not gotten anything. I haven't had time. Lately, it's of course, your adulting duties, day job, kids, trying to take care of the house and stuff. Got the podcast going on, trying to get the Haunt open, which again, this comes out after its debut Saturday, September 28th. Got working on getting the show going November 2nd with Gary Schneider and Robert Pritchard, from Toxic Avenger. So no, I haven't bought anything above and beyond hardware and spray paint and hammers and nails and posters and advertisements. Nothing.
Yeah, I've been going pretty cheap lately. I mean, I think we spent $30 yesterday on all that stuff. And then I got an order from Vinegar Syndrome, which was their last sale. And those movies were all $10 a piece, some of them with the slip covers. I think I ordered one that I already own, so damn it.
That wouldn't be the first time you've done that. No. You need to look at that app of yours. I can tell you there's a storm coming of collectibles. NECA has been teasing and announcing a shit ton of great figures every other day. Just a couple that come to top of mind because nothing's in front of me, but they're doing an Ash Williams and Cheryl from the original Evil Dead 2-pack. Of course, we got the Christopher Lee Hammer House of Horror, Hammer Dracula, House of Dracula. God, I'm trying to think of what else. There's a bunch. There's a Howling werewolf figure coming out, not from NECA, from somebody else. There's just so much. There is a storm of money getting ready to leave my wallet, which makes me sad because there's none in it right now. I don't know how to prepare for the storm.
There's a storm a brewing.
Of a money-taking machine.
That's the opposite of that one machine that swirls the dollars around that you can grab, right?
Yeah, this is where you get into a machine and arms come in and yank all the money out of your pockets, and then they swirl around and then they get sucked out into tubes and they go someplace else. From the creator of the Corpse Barn Shock Haunt comes Haunting in the Hills. Haunting in the Hills is located at the historic Stagecoach Stop, which can be found at 7203 US 12 in the Irish Hills area of Onstead, Michigan. Haunting in the Hills currently offers 3 separate attractions: the Train Car of Terror, Mutant Escape Massacre Hayride and Drive-Thru, and the complete indoor walkthrough madness of After the Flesh. This season marks the beginning of a brand new era of depravity as the Corpse Barn Crazies are now running the asylum. Come and be witness every Friday and Saturday from September 28th through October 26th from dusk till 11 p.m. Or bring out your timid for family night on October 13th, 20th, and 27th, where for $30 a carload, you can drive your own vehicle through the dark trails of the hayride. In addition, join us on Saturday, November 2nd, starting at 10 a.m. for a meet and greet signing with Toxic Avenger and Class of Nukem High Stars Gary Schneider and Robert Pritchard, which includes a screening of the Toxic Avenger with a Q&A session, vendors, and much more. For more info, visit facebook.com/traincarofterror. Haunting in the Hills. Everything you thought you knew is mutating into a brand new monster.
So now that we've heard from our sponsor, it's time for our movie. In this episode, we're covering the 2016 supernatural horror film directed by Andre Overdahl.
Good luck with this one.
Yeah, I think it's Overdahl. I'm not sure how to say his name.
If I remember correctly, he was Norwegian director. Yeah. What are we talking about?
The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Can I see one?
No.
What's that for?
Make sure he's dead.
Sheriff. What happened?
No ID. No fingerprints in the system. For now, she's a Jane Doe.
He needs my help right now. 11 o'clock, I'm all yours.
So one of the reasons we're covering this film is because the last movie, when we covered Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, towards the end of that, I expressed that I thought that there were only a handful of modern horror masterpiece classics, like instant classics. And I didn't bring up this movie because I hadn't seen it yet. Brian said, or things like The Autopsy of Jane Doe. And I was just like, okay, cool, I haven't seen it. I know what it is. I was going to watch it, just never got around to it. So after we got done recording that episode, Brian said, we should cover that the next episode. And I go, sure. And I got to tell you, I disagree. I don't think that it deserves to be in that category, but that is just my opinion.
I kind of wondered if it was just not enough. Just too slow, just not enough story, not enough horror maybe?
First of all, I like this movie. I said that to kind of throw it to make the conversation interesting. Brian likes everything that Clint suggests, and Clint hates everything that Brian suggests. No, I actually did enjoy this movie. I just don't think it's up to that level of those movies I listed off, like The Taking of Deborah Logan, or definitely not Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. It, to me, was almost like a really fucking good extended Creep Show episode. Of course, Creep Show always has kind of the more levity and irony in it, but it was just, I don't even know how to categorize it, but it was good. I just don't think it was.
It's not Behind the Mask good.
No, not much is.
Is Behind the Mask in the newer films, maybe in the last, what are we going back, 20 years? Or maybe 2000?
Well, yeah, because that came out in 2006, Behind the Mask, and I mean, it's almost 2025, so yeah.
So if we go back 20 years, 24 years, we go back to 2000. Is Behind the Mask your measuring post for movies from 2000 forward? Is there anything that you can think of that's better than that?
Being put on the spot? No, there are some things on par that may be better in their subgenre, raising half a points here and there, but no, I think Behind the Mask is actually, like the standard bearer, also because it communicates to such a wide audience. Like, you don't just have to be a slasher fan or just a general horror fan. Like, it speaks to everybody. Where this movie here, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which has been on Netflix forever, that's how I watched it last night. It's not bad. It's good. It's creepy. It's gory. There's actually a couple decent scares, jump scares and stuff, but it just speaks to that kind of supernatural thriller. I don't see people who aren't fans of supernatural films being drawn to this.
So this is an honorable mention for me, but my top 10 changes and it ebbs and flows. So this is one of the movies that I put when I did my top 10. It's kind of on the outskirts there. It's also on Shudder, and it was covered on the last drive-in in season 6. So this past season, week 4, I almost pulled it up and watched it with Joe Bob, but I was like, I had already watched like Friday the 13th, part 7 and part 8. So I was like, I need to get this in and not drag it out to 3 hours with Joe Bob.
One of the things about this film that I thought was really interesting is right off the bat, it has the crazy opening shot where the camera is looking like upside down through the bushes, very extremely close and blurred out, and then it spins and pulls back and you see the funeral home. But I don't know what the purpose of it was, unless it was just we just want to do something different. You know, a lot of times camera angles, especially when there's specialty shots like that, they serve some sort of artistic, master, but this just seemed like, it was like, I don't know, let's just fucking spin the camera.
Yeah, and this is the director's first English language film, premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2016, and then IFC Midnight released it in December. It only made about $6 million. I don't know what the budget was. I couldn't find that.
$4 million.
Didn't really make any money. But the premise of the film, and it opens up with that shot of the funeral home. There's a body brought in. It's a Jane Doe from a murder, suicide. They don't really know.
Ooh.
The body's found in the basement. Oh, go ahead.
Ooh, I'm going to do my Horseshack. Ooh. Actually, now that I think about it, I just watched this last night for the first time. Then I got like 4 hours of sleep. It didn't pull back in the funeral home. It pulled back on the house where Jane Doe was discovered in the basement. It actually opens up in this in kind of a suburb home where there's like a mass murder that happened inside of this house. And that's where they did discover Jane Doe and take her to the funeral home.
It's weird. Everybody in the house is horribly disfigured. They've been chopped and shot and
blood everywhere.
Jane Doe's body, not a scratch on it.
Pristine.
And the actress, that was a real person. I don't know if you saw that. Olin Kelly studied yoga and meditation and had to hold perfectly still for this whole film with all these weird prosthesis and all these practical effects. And I never saw her breathe or move.
I didn't either. And Olin Catherine Kelly, she was selected for her role because, just like you said, of her knowledge of yoga, which helped her control her body and breathing. I didn't see breathing. I didn't see eyes blinking. But this also, I'm glad you brought this up now. I was going to talk about it later, but it brings me to my what I was getting into about the filmmaker is, although that first shot was really weird, the way he composed it, you can tell if you pay attention to the shot compositions and the mechanics of this film, that he's a competent, interested, he's driven, fun filmmaker. He wasn't bored. There's a lot of close-ups and pullbacks and not necessarily moving camera moments like in Night of the Demons or Night of the Creeps that I like a lot. But there were a lot of different setups and a lot of editing went into this movie. So I'm curious now, if I don't remember extended scenes of the camera on her. So I wonder if, although I'm not taking anything away from her, she had to control her breathing, but maybe it was hidden also by, editing.
Again, this is his first English film. Did you ever see Troll Hunter from 2010?
No, I know of the title, but I haven't seen it.
And then he did Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Oh, shit, I didn't know that.
After this, in 2016 or 2019. In 2020, he did Mortal. And in 2023, he did The Last Voyage of the Demeter. So he's still around, still making films.
And Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is amazing. Now that you say that, I can see the visual styles are the same. Yeah.
The film's pretty much 3 locations. The home that you open up in, the morgue, and the van at the end. And I don't want to give much away. 90% of the film is spent with 3 characters, the father, the son, and the father's played by Brian Cox, who's an amazing actor. And it's spent in the morgue trying to find out what happened to Jane Doe and why she died and why she has all these injuries, these fractured wrists and ankles, her tongue's cut out, but the outside looks pristine.
Yeah, there's no trauma to the outside, but some of these, and then it gets in depth and even more as they go further into the autopsy. But the injuries that she has internally, there's a line in the movie where they say, she should, I forget how they say it, but basically she should externally just look like a fucking wreck. You brought up Brian Cox, and I wrote that down too. I fucking love Brian Cox. I've always loved Brian Cox. People might know Brian Cox on a mainstream level from Super Troopers. And the comedy Super Troopers, where he was the police chief or whatever. But he was also in Hammer House of Horror, the television series, which we happened to cover here on the I Like a Spooky Horror podcast a while back. And he was in my favorite episode that I talked about during that episode. Apparently, according to the Internet Movie Database, Martin Sheen was slated to play his role as Tommy, but had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. And nothing against Martin Sheen, but you can never, ever, ever go wrong with casting Brian Cox in anything.
This is another one of those films I wanted people to go watch. I think you enjoyed the film. You want people to go watch. You can't really go too in depth because you'll give the story away. You'll give not really the twist, but what Jane Doe is and why you don't even know why she is. Because
I am going to tell you this. I got a couple points to hit here. The movie, especially in the beginning, is fucking slow. I was 11 minutes in because I was getting bored, and I'm like, it feels like I've been watching this forever. So I hit pause, and I was like, 11 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're bored, 11 minutes is like waiting to get out of school or waiting to get out of work. Just tick tock, And I also think for me that this movie is a good example that I've always talked about of anything. You get out of it what you want to put into it, because I will go on record. I was dog ass tired. I was in a shit ass mood. So I went into this grumble. It is slow to begin with. There's some things I think could be taken out, just extended scenes, but it's set up. It's like every other movie. It's character. You're getting introduced to characters and you're getting the plot points set up and stuff like that. But I also think I was laying there as I'm watching it. I watched this in my bedroom. I was super tired. And I thought to myself, I think it depends on where and how you watch a movie, also how you enjoy it. I was tired. I was in bed. I was extremely tired, and I was fighting to stay awake. The TV I have in my bedroom, I just got a smaller, cheaper TV on the wall, so the quality of the TV isn't really that good. The blacks are kind of pixelated, and so I'm wondering if that played into it. I wonder if I would have been in the theater or with a group of friends or with my bigger TV, if I would have enjoyed it more.
One of the things I would like to start doing is giving you options. If you watched Autopsy of Jane Doe and you don't like this film, or you're like, okay, I enjoyed it, but I want something maybe a little busier with more action and more story, I'll give you an option on something you could watch.
I like this.
One of the films that I also really like that kind of has this same feel of it, it's from 1997. It stars Nick Nolte and Ewan McGregor. It's called Night Watch. Have you seen Night Watch?
One of those that I know what you're talking about, and I never have. I think I've seen clips from it, and yeah, it's the same kind of atmosphere.
So it's a law student who takes a job as a night watchman at a morgue, begins to discover clues that implicate him as the suspect in a series of murders. It's from 1997, so it's before that 2000 range, but Night Watch is one of those ones. And like you said, I think if you watch Autopsy of Jane Doe and Night Watch, the lights off, the phone away, quiet, dark, helps. Rod, who's my co-host on The Wrong Podcast, was watching In a Violent Nature, which has just come out to Shudder. And he said, oh, I'm going to watch this. And I was like, first off, he sent me a picture. I said, turn the fucking lights out is the first thing. Put your phone away. Don't touch it. In a Violent Nature is one of those films where it needs to be dark with the sound turned up and not distracted. There are films you can watch where you can grab your...
Immerse yourself.
There are films you can have your phone close and grab it, and Night of the Demons or Demons. You can grab your phone every so often with those films. You shouldn't.
That's fucking blasphemy.
But you know what I mean? You don't need to be like...
I do.
In a certain area. Beetlejuice, we just went and saw Beetlejuice. And I hear a lot of people complain about it and whatnot. It's not as good as original, the story blah. I said, the person that enjoyed that the most was my 6-year-old, because she's sick. She went in and had fun with it. She's not an adult who picks every fucking thing apart and hates everything. Like you said, you were tired and all that. You enjoyed the film.
That was the next point in my notes, and that is once things finally picked up and the mystery that began to unfold as the autopsy began, I was hooked. I thought it took a little too long to get there, but I also think when I was thinking about it afterwards, I was like, I think I'm just being impatient. You get out of it what you put into it. Real quick, I've always talked about haunted houses. People that come through haunted attractions, usually the ones that don't enjoy it and they're complaining and they bitch afterwards, because you get it no matter what you do. You can't make everybody happy. If you talk to them a little bit, you find out they had a shit day at work. They just got into an argument with their spouse or whatever, so you get out of it what you put into it. Yeah. Once the autopsy got going and that mystery, I was like, ooh, I'm trying to piece it all together.
Yeah. And again, we can't give you much, because if we give you too much, we're going to ruin the film.
I will give you that I loved how the radio spoke to them.
You like that song? Them creepy fucking kids.
If your heart is filled with gloom, so let the sun shine in. Face it with a grin. Smilers never lose, and frowners never win, so let the sun.
Well, no, I love the song, but I also liked how it was kind of in the background, and I always pay attention to background, and like the radio had been talking to him for a while, like, don't do this, you're going to get in trouble, and that's not how I forget exactly what it said, but then when it got up and like the camera's close on the radio and the radio announcer comes over and he was like something like, you're never going to get out of here, you're all going to die, or something like that. I was like, and you see that the son character like saw the radio. He's like, Dad, I think we should get the fuck out of here. I just thought that was a neat little addition.
You ready to rate it? You got any more points on the movie?
I just got 1 point here. You were talking a little earlier about actress Olwen, is it Olwen? Yeah, Olwen Catherine Kelly, who played Jane Doe, talked about how she was actually laying there nude 4 hours, controlling her breathing. It says here that she spent 8 hours a day for 5 weeks lying naked on an autopsy table. Before filming, she said she spent a lot of time thinking, how am I going to be nude and still in what will probably be a room full of men? But apparently she had a background as a model, and that was said to have helped her cope. This is the funny part. During an early modeling job after moving to London, she posed totally naked except for a pair of shoes in a room full of people. And the reason I bring that up is at the end of this movie, or not at the end, it's towards the end, you get a close-up of Jane Doe's feet. Good God, she's got ugly ass feet.
I didn't even notice.
How do you not? They were like all up in the camera, and I was like, ugh. Oh, and one last thing, justice for Stanley.
Oh, yeah. Poor Stanley the cat. He was an asshole, though.
We've got a running theme on Indie Spotlight with our co-host Leah Stalker of Pure Macabre. It seems like movies we cover, there's cats die. And this was another one where the poor cat got killed.
Yeah, only cats, though. You notice that?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's never dogs. It's never fish. It's never...
Yeah, it's only cats. Yeah, justice for... You said Stanley was his name?
That wasn't his real name. They actually gave this cat a stage name, and the stage name was Stanley. Justice for Stanley.
Well, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll go. And I'm going to go 7 toe bells out of 10. We're able to tie in that mythology of you tie bells around toes because back in the day, they didn't know if people were in a coma or if they were dead. So if you're in the morgue and the bell went off, the toes were wiggling, like, oh, well, I better not cut them open and bury them in the ground. Great gore, good story, creepy, and well acted for sure. I would for sure like to see a sequel to this. However, like I said earlier, I don't think it's a modern masterpiece. 7 might be a little too low. Maybe I should go a little higher, like pushing towards an 8. I enjoyed the film. I'm not like, I got to go sit down and watch this again and show the girls because they didn't watch it with me. I think they had the perfect storm of atmosphere, of story. When I found out he did scary stories to tell in the dark, I'm like, oh, that makes perfect fucking sense now. You know what I mean? So this is almost like, that's what it is. That's what it is. The Autopsy of Jane Doe is kind of like one story from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, just in an extended version. That's it right there.
We can't tell you the name of the story because we'll give away the movie. But yeah, I'm going to go 9 out of 10 ugly feet. You gave me that one. Yeah, 9 out of 10 ugly feet.
Those dogs were hurting. Ooh.
And she wasn't even on them most of the time. She was laying on the slabs.
She had been on them before because she posed nude in nothing but shoes for people in London. You know what? I'm going to make a correction. I'm going to do an on-the-spot correction here. I'm going to go ahead and bump it up a full point because I just don't feel right saying 7. I'm going 8.
But yeah, definitely an extended scary stories to tell in the dark. And maybe those people saw this film and were like, oh, he would be great atmosphere-wise and story-wise and kind of dark to do this film.
Hopefully he fucking does a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark Part 2, which has been teased for a couple of years now. Can you imagine? Hey, I hope he's listening, or someone close to him, or 6 degrees from him hears this episode and gives him the idea, if and when the sequel comes out for Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, because it has more mainstream appeal, so it will probably happen at some point. It would be cool to tie in a couple characters or a character from this, even if it's just a little mention or a tie-in. would be so fucking cool.
How cool would it be if Jane Doe ends up in it?
That's kind of what I was getting at, yeah.
You see her on a slab, not nude, because scary stories that tell in the dark's more for kids, or that middle ground, but yeah, that would be awesome.
Well, they say that he was inspired to do this film because he had been a fan of films like The Conjuring. And of course, they have the universe, which is splintered off. So, I mean, he could create his own universe just with that simple little tie-in. Can you imagine if you and I had money and power and prestige and we ran a film studio, the awesome shit that would come out of that studio?
Yeah.
If we were able to sit with our cigars lit in our offices and just hit buttons and call people and go, make this happen, there would be a lot of cool shit going on.
Why isn't there, though?
Politics.
Yeah.
Bureaucracy. Here's a stupid example. So I recently saw, this is so off the beaten path. I recently saw this quick little reel on Facebook. I was having a cigarette, just flipping through reels, and it was an interview with The Undertaker. And it was about why wasn't there ever the Sting versus Undertaker match. And it was a quick little reel, but he was talking about, yeah, everybody wanted this. He said by the time Sting came to WWE, he said the Undertaker said that he was on the back end of his career, so he doesn't think the match would have lived up to the hype. But the point that he made was, he said everybody in the world wanted this fucking match except Vince McMahon. And that, I think, is why, because 9 times out of 10, I think the people that are actually in control are so out of touch of a lot of things that people really want. They don't have their finger on the pulse.
Well, and Vince was probably like, well, he's a star from somewhere else. I'm not going to bring him into my backyard and give him a push, which is stupid.
Exactly. He had his own reasons, but that's a point of someone in a position of power who controls the things that we consume. They have their own agendas and their own hangups. You know, I know a group of people who would probably support us if we ever get the big cigars and the comfy chairs and the button pushings and the phone calls that say, do this, do that, make it happen. And that is our podcast network, the PFPN. Shit, we'll put them in the room with us. I mean, we need advisors.
Legal help.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
So now that we've heard from our podcast network, it's time for This Day in Horror. And we're covering September 29th through October 12th. And you would think this would be a really good time of the year.
A date which will live in infamy.
So on September 29th, 1995, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers.
Best Halloween ever.
And then in 2015, you get Monsterville, Cabinet of Souls, a kid movie.
I was going to say, I don't even know what that is. Hey, and you got to mention, every time we bring up a movie that we've covered here on the I Like a Spooky Horror podcast, you got to go, hey, we covered that. Halloween 5. No, not 5, 6. 6, The Curse. Okay.
And then in 2023, you get Saw X, 10. There's 10 fucking Saw movies? There's probably more than that now.
I don't know. I stopped watching after, I think I saw half of 3.
Then on October 1st, okay, this makes up for everything. 1968, Night of the Living Dead.
Mic drop.
1974, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mic drop.
1993, Freak. That's a fun movie.
Huh?
Yeah. You've never seen
What?
Freaked? Yeah,
No.
it's about a carnival freak show movie. Yeah, it's fun. And then in 2002, Max Hell Comes to Frogtown. I mean, it's got Roddy Piper in it, so...
You keep bringing... We're going to have to go ahead and cover Demon Lover. I have so much to say about that movie and its director and my relationship with people involved in the film. We just have to. That's it. Sometime soon, we're going to cover Demon Lover.
And then in 2006, Dexter premiered. I don't know if you like Dexter. I watched a couple episodes.
I never got into Dexter because I didn't have Showtime. I think Dexter was on Showtime.
It was on Showtime or Max or I don't know.
But I remember they came out a couple years ago with the the Dexter sequel. I forget what was it called. It was Dexter Blood something. And I got hooked. I binged watched it. I was at a hotel in Indianapolis and I watched like almost all of it except the last like couple episodes. And I kept going, oh my God, I got to see these last 2 episodes. I was so hyped, and then I just never have.
And then in 2010, we get Hatchet 2.
People go nuts over it. I saw the first Hatchet. Haven't seen 2 or 3. They're fun. They're gory.
2021, you get the Addams Family 2, which is the animated. So, I mean, that's a chunk of movies that on October 1st. And then October 11th, a couple more mic drops. 1974, you get Black Christmas.
Mic drop. All the greats, of course, they're going to be great because they're older, but it's all 1974, 1968, 1981. Just kidding. Nothing good came out of 81. Of course it did. My Bloody Valentine. Go ahead.
And then in 1985, you get Silver Bullet.
Not the fucking burning.
No. Was that 1985?
No. I was stuck in my 1981 time loop. Sorry about that.
Well, 1985, you got Silver Bullet. And then in 2006...
Silver Bullet was probably Gary Busey's last, sane role.
I don't know if he was sane in that movie.
That's when he lost his sanity. I love Gary Busey.
I think if he didn't lose it then, he probably lost it in Ginger Dead Man from Full Moon.
Oh, no, he lost it way before. That's how he signed up for Ginger Dead Man. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I think his last sane film was Point Break with Keanu Reeves.
And then in 2006, Pan's Labyrinth, which I enjoy Pan's Labyrinth, but
never seen it.
Not horror so much, maybe fantasy, but I enjoyed it. And it's however you spell his name, Guillermo del Toro.
Mm-hmm. You got it. You nailed it.
That's it. That's horror history for September 29th through October 2nd or 12th.
Ooh, 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 Horseshack moment. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I got to say earlier, you threw this out of nowhere at me and you did the recommendation, which I like that. That's really cool. You kind of recommended something similar to a movie that we're covering. Something I wanted to say about that, you talked about Night Watch, and with Ewan McGregor and Nick Nolte, both amazing fucking actors. I forgot to mention a point, so I just wanted to bring that up again. I love that you threw that in there. That's an awesome little addition here to the show. B, I worked at a video store when that hit the shelves. And that movie, Night Watch, I couldn't keep it stocked. It was a fucking revolt. It was a boomerang. It came in and went back out, came in, went back out.
Yeah, and I like that. I don't even know how I stumbled upon that film. Another one of those that creepy, atmospheric, but has maybe more going on and more of a story than the Autopsy of Jane Doe. So if it's too slow for you, check out Night Watch.
And now that I think about my fun-free, carefree days working at the video store to where I'm at now, I sit here and think to myself, what the fuck happened? What the fuck is going on?
The week after this episode comes out, well, that Friday, I'm flying out on Thursday to Las Vegas. Going to spend Friday night and Saturday under the stars at the West Wind Drive-In with Joe Bob, Darcy, and the Mutant family in Las Vegas for is this the 4th annual? 5th annual? I don't fucking know.
I think it's the 5th. I could be wrong. I think it's the 5th.
5th annual Joe Bob Drive-In Jamboree. And on Friday night, the guest of honor is none other than John Carpenter. And then, Saturday, we get Svengoolie, Brinky Stevens, Linnea Quigley, Felissa Rose, and there's somebody else. But there's going to be vendors and celebrities and movies, and it's all night. I'm going with my buddy Garth Jacobson that lives about an hour away. I'm going to grab him. We're going to go fly out. We're going to bunk up together and hit Vegas together. And then the weekend after that is Halloween-a-Palooza in Ottumwa, Iowa. I go to that by myself because Clint's car is not allowed in Iowa.
Hell no. I'm afraid for my action figure that you have to get signed. I don't know what's going to happen to that thing. It's going to spontaneously combust or turn into corn.
So that's the 11th and 12th of October at the Bridgeview Center in Ottumwa, Iowa. They have a ton of Nightmare on Elm Street celebrities. I think there's 8 or so. They got some other celebrities. They got a film festival. They got Deary Public Radio, which is a podcast that talks about all things Stephen King. They're going to be there. Our friend Justin Beam's going to be there doing a presentation. Rod's going to be there. Somebody's got to babysit his ass, so I'm doing that. Yeah, just a fun weekend that hang out with a bunch of friends and maybe find some cool stuff. Hopefully not break my wallet. Yeah, busy couple weeks for me. And then I think the next weekend I don't even fucking know. I don't know.
Well, you got a trip to Michigan's coming up in your near future too.
Next weekend is my next weekend with nothing. And then it fucking all hits the fan. After November 2nd, I won't leave the house for a couple months. So what about you, other than you have more work than anybody I know?
And I'm an idiot. A lot of it's self-inflicted, but you only live once. These opportunities present themselves. So just, hey, on my tombstone, it's going to say, at least he tried. That's one thing that I always do.
We pull back the curtain. I've been dealing with some kidney stones and I had surgery and just putting on events and it not going to my standards. There was some talk of possibly closing the podcast down. But then I thought to myself, what the fuck would I do with all my free time? What legacy would I leave behind for my family and my friends and people in horror? And I feel like we bring something to the community. And if I take myself out of that, then it leaves a hole. Maybe not for a lot of people, but for some people. And I just was like, I don't want to do that. I was talking to the same friend at work, and I was like, you know what you never see on TikTok or Facebook or anything? How people struggle. The work and the time and the money and all that. You see how everybody's doing great. For every million of those videos, you maybe see one where somebody, and I saw one the other day, the girl was like, I made $2.73 in March. And in April, I made $5 and a penny. And then in July, I made $100 and some dollars. And then the next month, I didn't make anything. I said, you never see those videos of all the stuff that goes into it and the failures and all that.
You never see the struggles in a constructive way, because when you get to the social media aspect, you get two things. You get, my life is perfect, my life is great, I want everybody to think everything cool about me, blah, blah, blah. Or you get the woe is me, drama, bullshit, nonstop, whiny, bitchy shit. No, you never see the constructive.
So that was a great video because she was showing that she was working and not every month was a good month, or she made a lot of money, but she wasn't going to give up. She's going to keep pushing and keep going. So you're fucking stuck with me for a while, probably.
In the end, that's all we can do. I figured that when, came to us and you were like, well, I don't, here's a timeline and, I'm getting a little burnout and kind of frustrated with this, that, and a couple other things. My comment was, well, shit, I guess I'm going to be like Heath Slater. I'm going to be the one-man band, baby. I figured you were like, shit, he's going to keep going with this. And if he has to do this all by himself with all the other shit he does, he is going to drop over and die.
I'm just one man.
And you picked the one guy in the one-man band that didn't win a fucking championship.
But he had the coolest line. He was the best on the mic for sure. Well, yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
Oh, one-man band. What the fuck? No one ever thought that those three would go on. I mean, Jinder Mahal went on to win a WWE championship, maybe more than once.
I think he was a two-time champ, maybe.
Yeah, and Drew McIntyre's one of the biggest stars in WWE right now.
And Heath Slater's still trying to take care of all his kids. I got kids.
Well, until the next episode of the I Like It Spooky Horror podcast, check out our Facebook, our Instagram, our TikTok, our what the hell ever else. Appendages, Mishmash from Pure Macabre. The Wrong Podcast died if you want to listen to fucking Rod. Yeah, all of it.
Although I kind of mentioned earlier in the episode out of turn about what I got going on. Brian just didn't even want to know anything about what I got going on, but it's short and sweet. I'm going to be at Haunting in the Hills. Check out Haunting in the Hills in the Irish Hills area of Onstead, Michigan. Go to Facebook/Train Car of Terror to find out stuff about when we're open, how much it is to go in, pictures of all the depravity, events coming up shortly after, including celebrities from the Toxic Avenger with a screening and a Q&A and all sorts of cool stuff. I'm also going to be, let's see, when this episode comes out, I'm done with Hearst Fest, but I'm gearing up for my last show of the year, and that is Scare Fest in Kentucky, and that's later in October, so I'll talk about that next episode. Now, to wrap up the show, as Brian was trying to do before he wanted to boot me out the door, is I got to tell you, much like Ward was a little hard on the Beaver, I've been a little hard on the Rod. So I just want to say that I'm not going to say, fuck you, Rod, this episode. I'm just going to say, hey, I hope you hear my voice again, people, because with everything I got going on, I just might drop over dead.
Funny thing about the Haunting in the Hills, we watched the video that you guys put out, which was great. And Finley said, "Can we go through that with the lights on?"
Absolutely.
I was like, "Probably." I'll see you in Michigan if I don't see you before. Well, I won't see you before. But yeah, I'll see you soon.
I hope so. You got my action figure, and it'd be cool to see you too.
Take care.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.